try not to take too much of your time. I apologize. I said I was up against the clock, and I got a bunch of looks, and I realized I didn't say what I was supposed to say at the beginning of my lesson, which is if you could stay for just a minute, I have a brief presentation to make. So that's why I was more focused on the clock than I typically am. Okay. All right. I wrote a bunch of nice words here, and I'm trying to decide whether or not I should just read them or say what's in my heart. I'm just going to say what's in my heart. So I don't know about you, but I miss Glenn an awful lot, and I think about him all the time. And I don't know if you did it on purpose or not, Greg, but that was Glenn's favorite, at least his favorite invitation song. I think most songs were Glenn's favorite song, but I just think about Glenn all the time. And I know most of you do as well. And I'll tell you one of the things that I have thought about over the last several months is we've had some new people, we've had some baptisms, we've had some folks that have placed membership, and some of those folks are somewhat local. But there's folks coming in that are not going to have known Glenn. And on a personal level, it bothers me. It's going to be a long, long time before anybody forgets, before this congregation would forget Glenn. But there's people that don't know Glenn or didn't know Glenn. And for those of you that didn't know him, I'm very sad for you that you didn't. Almost 50 years of service, and 50 plus his family's still here. Hope and Adam still here with us. And of course, Kenny down in Georgia. And we appreciate so much what Glenn meant to this congregation. And, it's been my assignment, and it's also been my privilege to start going through Glenn's library and working through those materials. And he had told me a couple of times, he said, I'm going to have you go through that stuff when I'm gone, and I paid zero attention. I guess that's what the disciples did when Jesus said, I'm going to die. And they were like, yeah, all right, whatever, And Glenn would say, when I'm gone, and I'm like, yeah, okay. Well, after Glenn passed, several members of the family and eldership came to me and said, Glenn wanted you to get in that office. And it took me 6 months before I could step in there. And once I started going in there, it's difficult emotionally to go in there. It's also such a great joy and a privilege and an honor to go in there. And you thought Glenn was studious, and you get into his library and you go, wow, it's exhaustive. So it's been a blessing. It's been a real privilege. And I appreciate Jenny lately, who's been helping with that task, because what we're doing is what I don't take and utilize for my own library, a great portion of that's usable is going to be put into our own library, and Jenny's working on assimilating those materials in the library. So our church library is going to change in a big way, because that's going to contain a lot of Glenn's library. And so I appreciate her working on that, and it's going to take a bit to sort through that. His apologetics materials are, the first dibs on all of that material is going to be the Warren Center, and Charles Pugh is supposed to be up later this year, or perhaps first of next year, and whatever they can use at the Warren Center is going to go there. So, how do you recognize so many years of faithful service to a congregation, along with Hope, his faithful companion who labored alongside of him? How do you make it so that other generations coming in that didn't know Glenn, at least, will know of Glenn, and that kind of service to the Lord and service to his congregation won't soon be forgotten? Well, you try to do something that's indelible and something that's memorable, something that will allow people to remember. And God sets up memorials. He's a God of memorials, as we read about in Scripture. And so as of this Sunday, the eldership has decided to name our library the Glenn Hawkins Memorial Library. And we hope that as those books and his books brought many years of not only enjoyment, but study and building of faith, that this will be a symbol of the building of the faith of this congregation for many generations to come. All right, thank you.